Hello, it's 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English New Edition. For tonight headlines, we have Prime Minister receives strong delegations of international health institutions. For the international sea in Russia, in Ethiopia, survey continues today of morning in Addis Ababa and Nairobi. Welcome to our newsroom. The visit of the French president to Djibouti under the signs of a strengthening relations of friendship and cooperation. The president of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, will receive tomorrow, Tuesday, at the Palace of the Republic, the illustration's guest, who is the president of the French Republic, Emmanuel Macron. It is a face-to-face meeting between the two heads of state. That will be the main stage of Mr. Macron's visit to Djibouti. This summit meeting will take place upstream to an enlarged working audience for the respective employees of two heads of state. The strengthening of relations of friendship and cooperation between the two countries and the two peoples will be at the head of the talks between President Guelleh and his French counterpart. On this first part, it will not only be a question for the two parties to reaffirm each other respective determination is to work for the maintenance of the links and strategic partnership that bind them. It will be especially questions in view of the changes of strategic, political and security in this part of the world in perpetual mutations to identify together new matrices of collaboration, the state of civil cooperation between the two countries, and above all, the partnerships in terms of training of managers, essentially for the design and implementation of projects for our development, will also be mentioned. It should be noted that the discussions will include sections dedicated to cooperation between the two countries in the private sector. Also note that unofficial receptions, including all honor, will also be made tomorrow, Tuesday, before the talks to President Emmanuel Macron on the esplanades of the Palace of the Republic. The President of the French Republic, Emmanuel Macron, is expected tonight at Djibouti, where he will make a 24-hour working visit at the invitations of Djibouti President Ismail Omar Guelleh. And the highlight of the visit of French President Emmanuel Macron will be head-to-head with President Guelleh tomorrow to the presidency. Before this meeting, an enlarged meeting will be held between the delegations of Djibouti and France. The French president is accompanied by strong delegations of officials and businessmen. A glance at the relations between the two countries in this magazine prepared by our editorial.
Djibouti and France, it's 150 years of friendship, fruit of a long shared history equivalent to 5 generations. The result is the richness of deep bilateral relationship. The Republic of Djibouti is close to the Hexagon, which remains the only French-speaking area of the Horn of Africa. Djibouti and France also share the sacrifice and bloodshed side by side during the First and Second World War, the very foundation of the historical friendship between the two countries.
Djibouti et la France sont deux pays qui ont une histoire commune.
This is why the Djiboutian president was officially invited to the ceremonies marking the centenary of the 1918 armistice that ended the First World War. This legacy of a common history and the sharing of French is not only a means of communication but also a way of thinking and feeling that they have the same common heritage, make the relationship between the two countries a link indestructible. It is in this context that the first visit of President Macron to Djibouti took place since he came to power, a meeting that seems to be under the auspices of a revival of the strategic and economic partnership between the two countries.
The Prime Minister, His Excellency Abdulkadir Kamil Mohammed, received in the mornings of Sunday, March 10, 2019, at premature honors regional directors of UN-AIDS. Listen to the report.
Dr. Van Gayan Gurumurti, Regional Director of UN-AIDS, and Dr. Joseph Sewituke, Regional Director of the Global Fund for the Fight Against AIDS, Malaria, and Tuberculosis, were received this morning by the Prime Minister Abdulkadir Kamil Mohammed. The two regional leaders were introduced to the Prime Minister by UN-AIDS Country Director Mr. Farah Hudson and the Director General of the CCMI Mr. Ahmed Saad Sultan. The meeting was held in the presence of the technical advisors of the Prime Minister Ali Salai and Hassan Mohammed. Dr. Van Gayan Gurumurti and his counterpart in the Global Fund for the Fight AIDS have thanked the Prime Minister for his availability and praised the leadership of the Prime Minister as the main coordinator of government action, Djibouti having made significant effort in the HIV/AIDS response.
The Prime Minister Abdulkadir Kamil Mohammed received in the afternoons of Sunday at the premature honors of premature the regional directors for the Eastern Mediterranean, Dr. Ahmed Salim Al-Mandari, accompanied by the representative acting in Djibouti, Dr. Ahmed Sultan. More details in this report.
Minister, His Excellency Mr. Abdulkadir Kamil Mohammed received today in the afternoon the Regional Director of WHO for the Eastern Mediterranean, Dr. Ahmed Salim El-Mandari, accompanied by the Acting Representative of WHO in Djibouti, Dr. Ahmed Zwaitin. The meeting was held in the presence of the technical advisors of the Prime Minister, Mr. Ali Salai and Hassan Mohammed. The discussion between the two men focused on the two-year plan of action between the Republic of Djibouti and EMO, covering the programmatic aspects of health priorities jointly identified by the national authorities and WHO. In this regard, the Prime Minister, Mr. Abdulkadir Kamil Mohammed, had the opportunity to submit a few key points to the strengthening of the health system.
The Minister of Defense in charge of relations with the Parliament, His Excellency Ali Hassan Bahdoun, received today at his cabinet the Ambassador of Japan, His Excellency Yonetani Koji, accompanied by the defense attached at the embassy from Japan, Commodores Kakayuri Kudo. Besides the Ministers of Defense took part in this meeting Djibouti's side, Commander Ilyas Abdullahi Gelle, Head of Cabinet of the Ministry of Defense in charge of relations with Parliament. The meeting between the ministers and his host focused on bilateral cooperation relations and more particularly on the defense file. The discussions between the two men also focused on the state of relations between our two forces and in particular in the support to the armed forces Djibouti as part of the capacity building of response to the natural disasters, but also in the file of training. As part of National Women Week, the Ministry of Women and Family and the UNDP organized a workshop to disseminate the delivery packages of the listening cells and the references protocol in collaboration with the UNFPA at the headquarters of the UNFD. The themes of the day was to think equitably and to fight against all forms of violence. The event gathered around the tables in the conference rooms of the UNFD, the Minister of Women and Family, the Vice President of UNFD, UNFPA representative, the Mayor of the City of Djibouti, women parliamentarian representative of resident and elected locals, and representative of civil society. The ceremony was marked by many interventions, beginning with the Vice President of UNFD, Hassan Ahmed Bilil, recalled that the President in his speech yesterday said that women are our daughters, our sisters, our mothers, our spouses, and our mothers. We will not tolerate that they are abused and violent. Also, she reminded that gender-based violence is a violation of human rights, that our country considers violence as a criminal offense. For these people, a national reference systems is set up to coordinate the mechanisms for dealing with the victims of violence against women, and to establish a close collaboration and cooperation between different services providers. For a part, the Vice President of UNFD, Ms. Hassan Ahmad Bilil, reminded that the President in his speech yesterday said that women and our daughters, our sisters and mothers, our spouses and our mothers, and we do not tolerate that they are abused and violent, she said. The Minister of Women and Family, Moumina Ahmed Hassan, recalled in his speech that the ministry has set up a national reference systems to coordinate the mechanisms of care for victims of gender-based violence. The Minister of Health, Dr. Jama Alimi Aouki, received in a large delegation from UNAIDS and the Global Fund led by the regional directors for the Middle East and North Africa, Rangayan Commentary, who was composed by the regional team's leader, Mr. Joseph Serutoke, and Djibouti portfolio managers for the World Fund, Ms. Emina Florence. Indeed, this delegation was introduced to the ministers by the representative of UNS in Djibouti, Mr. Farhad Hassan Farah. Also noteworthy is in the presence of the General Secretary of the Health, Dr. Saleh Benoit Atrab, and several senior officials from the ministry who attend this meeting. The discussion is focused on ways and means to strengthen the commitment of technical partners to support the accelerations of the process of transfer and substantive management for the fight against the three diseases, namely HIV, AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis. To this end, the Ministry of Health, Dr. Jama Al-Mauki, reminded his interlocutors of all the measures taken by the government to strengthen the coordination and technical capacity of the countries to ensure the implementation and monitoring of priority health programs. The Ministry of Housing and Planning and Environment organized a workshop this morning on capacity buildings of the National Steering Committee on Climate Change. For more detail, with this report.
The Ministry of Habitat and the Environment organized a workshop this morning on capacity building of the National Steering Committee on Climate Change. This workshop was chaired by the Director of the Environment and Sustainable Development, Hussein Abdullahi Rirash. The objective of this workshop is to build the technical capacity of the members of the Climate Change Committee and to provide them with the baseline knowledge on the climate issue. And it is part of the policy of the Environment Ministry, and this committee aims to strengthen the coordination of climate change-related activities and to provide a platform for exchange and information sharing to facilitate the mobilization of international funding. This workshop was attended by key actors from technical institutions, civil society, and the private sector. In his intervention, the Director of the Environment and Sustainable Development, Hussein Abdullah Riwash, reminded that this workshop is part of the project Support for Climate Change Adaptation for Rural Communities of the mountainous area of Djibouti.
A launching workshop for the Djibouti Youth Club's antennas was held in the Dakhel Regions Council Saturday 9. The aim of this workshop was to launch the new branch of the Dakhel Young Business Club, whose aim was to initiate the establishment of a team and executive office to facilitate collaborations with the main headquarters of the Djibouti city. This has been a fruitful exchange with ambitious and young people from Dikil, who already have values creating activities, recalling that the Club of Young Entrepreneurs is an association that brings together all the young entrepreneurs of the whole territory to help each other to share and to develop together their respective business with the slogan to be enriched by our differences. The club is present in all the region and the Republic with a main seat in the capital. On the night of 9 to 10 March 2019, the military of Tajura and the police intercepts around Daley 8 vehicles carrying Ethiopian stowaway. Indeed, this point operation is part of the fight against illegal migration. In addition, 15 illegal migrants have been intercepted, are being arrested. The clandestines will be forced back to Ethiopia. However, during these operations, the owners and smugglers, who are members of 15 peoples of Djiboutian descent, have been questioned. The traffickers of human beings will be brought to justice to answer for their actions. As part of the fight against smuggling in all its forms, and following information is cross-checked, the gendarmes of the Road Safety Brigade intercept Land Cruisers branch vehicles heading toward Djibouti city at the crossroad of Artawi'a. During the searches of vehicles in question, the gendarmes discovered a large consignments of contraband goods. To this end, the gendarmes says the 8 pocket of cigarette brand who marks values in is estimate at 4,000 on the Djibouti franc. On this side, the 2 individuals, including the drivers, were arrested and placed in custody. All the goods and the vehicles used for transport have been seized. The alleged perpetrators of this smuggling will be brought to justice for their actions. In addition, the high commanders of the gendarmerie informs the population that gendarmes will spare no effort day and night to deal with this kinds of illegal traffic, which seriously affect the national economy. We have a press release. Mr. Musa Ali Muhammad, aged 13, is researched by his family for 2 months. Mr. Musa Ali Muhammad is Musa Sanda left his family homes mid-January 2019. It is open to anyone who meet him to contact the family at 77713666. We have the condolence release. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs International Cooperation has the regret to announce the death of Rashad Farah occurred yesterday in the crash of Ethiopian Airlines links Addis Ababa to Nairobi. The deceased, who worked at the bank of the Commercial Bank and Development of Comesa, was the daughter of Rashad Farah, former ambassador of Djibouti in Japan and France. In these painful circumstances, the Minister of Foreign Affairs International Cooperation spokesman for the government, Mr. Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, the ambassador of Djibouti to Japan, Mr. Ahmed Areita, and the ambassador of Djibouti to Germany, Mr. Aden Dileita, the ambassador of Djibouti in Ethiopia, and all the officials of the ministry joined the family and present their sincere condolences to their former colleagues, to the whole families, as well as to the close of the deceased Rashad Farah. The Minister of Equipment Transport, His Excellency Muhammad Abdul Qadir Musa, as soon as he was informed at the crashes of Ethiopian Airlines yesterday morning, sent messages of condolence to his Ethiopian counterpart. In his letters of condolence, the Minister Muhammad Abdul Qadir Musa expressed himself in these terms: "Dear Dagmawit, it with deep sadness that I learned the terrible news of the air disasters that plunged the Republic of Ethiopia's history. I wish to present to you personally and in my ministry my feelings of condolence and sympathy at these painful times. Ethiopia and Djibouti, countries brothers, have in their history always been united in the most painful moments of their existence. We join with the nations of Ethiopia on these days of mourning, and I would appreciate if you would share with the families of the victims our feeling of condolence once again." For the international scene, investigators found on Monday, March 11, the two black boxes of Boeing 737 MAX 8 Ethiopian Airlines crash Sunday after taking it off from Addis Ababa to Nairobi, killing 157 people on board. More details with this report.
Investigators found on Monday, March 11, the two black boxes of Boeing 737 MAX 8 Ethiopian Airlines crashed Sunday after taking off from Addis Ababa to Nairobi, killing the 157 people on board, the company reported. The cockpit voice recorded of the flight data recorder were recovered from the crash site, she said in a statement. The plane crashed Sunday shortly after taking off from Addis Ababa. The pilot and previously reported difficulties and asked to turn around, said the CEO of the Ethiopian Airlines. Since the disaster, Ethiopian Airlines has made the decision to ground its fleet of MAX 8. This is the second crash in a little over 4 months involving the most recent model of the Boeing 737, the airline most sold in the world.
The Ethiopian Airlines air crash hit Ethiopia, of course, where the Boeing 737 crashed shortly after taking it off from Addis Ababa. For more details in this report.
Hit Ethiopia, of course, where the Boeing 737 crashed shortly after taking off from Addis Ababa, Kenya, where the plane was to land, but also 35 countries in the world who lost nationals in the accident. On board Flight ET-302, there were 149 passengers and 8 crew members. None survived. Kenyans paid the highest price with 32 dead. The capital, Nairobi, is home to the largest UN regional center in the region, and the UN is particularly saddened by the tragedy. At least 19 employees from several agencies of affiliated organizations have died. 5 other UN organizations deplore victims: the World Food Programme, the Office of the High Commissioner for Refugees, the World Bank, the International Telecommunication Union, and the United Nations Environment Programme.
This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us.